Hey everybody, Steve Sefcik from Should Have Been Engineering. I thought today we'd touch on final drive, how the final drive slip joint works, moving the final drive, places on the splines most people kind of ignore. And this technology also is going to apply to the C10 and the C14, the ZG14. The ZG14 is laid out a little bit differently. We'll get into that. Okay, let's get out. Okay, on the C10 drive shaft, a lot of people don't realize this piece here is not machined as part of the drive shaft. This piece here is the slip joint cup, and it's actually held on with an E-clip inside, C-clip, and up in here there's an O-ring that's sealed in there that you currently can't see. Now, on the final drive itself, right here, there's also an O-ring. And a lot of people don't realize that O-ring even exists. So if you notice what you have here, you've got your spline, and then you have an area of basically nothing, it's not machined or anything, and then you have an O-ring. Behind that, way behind it, is where the seal is for the pinion. And here's how that works. There's actually a hole here. I don't know, can you see that hole right there? There's a hole right here in this pinion. And when the oil is slinged around inside, it slings out that hole and it comes up to lube the slip joint. Here's what most people don't realize. That O-ring right there is designed to seal the back of the slip joint. Now the way it does that, if you notice that there's a tapered lead-in machined taper right here, and then there's an area in the drive shaft that has no spline, and then you have spline. Well, that lead-in taper is so that you don't bite your O-ring. This machined area with no spline is the part that slides where the O-ring is. That effectively, there's the O-ring here and the O-ring here, and effectively those two O-rings are sealing this cup area, which is sealing the spline area. What this is doing is constantly keeping this lubed with oil out of the final drive. Now, it does specify for the C10 and the C14 to put moly on these splines, but I want you to know that they are also supplementarily lubed by that hole. Now, with the C14, they did it a little bit different. What they did was they have this spline as part of the back of the drive shaft, and they put that O-ring here, okay? So basically the slip joint, the collar part is on the final drive, and then the spline is part of the drive shaft. Either way, the functionality is the same. Now, why knowing about this O-ring is important is because this O-ring will break. And when this O-ring breaks, that final drive oil that's been coming out and lubing the cup starts spilling out. At that point, it's going to spill out onto your rear wheel. It can spill out forward into the bellows up by the bevel drive. And if you have an unexplained leak, you don't know where it's coming from, I'd say check that O-ring. Okay, here it's a nice view of the O-ring. You can see where it's rotating in its groove. And if I rotate the final drive, you can also see that hole that I was talking about. Okay, here's the spline that links in with the push drive on the rear wheel, and this is what drives the power from the final drive into the rear wheel. This needs to be greased with either high pressure grease. The factory specifies moly. Good moly is pretty expensive, but if you use a good high pressure wheel bearing grease here, that's going to go a long way to saving your push drive. The push drive is the part in the rear wheel that mates onto this, and it's a softer metal and it's sacrificial. And while I haven't heard about any failures on a C14 yet, I'm sure we will. It's the same setup as the C10 has, And we do know of failures of the push drive on the wheel side on the C10s because of failure to be lubricated. So anytime that you're taking your rear wheel off, changing your rear wheel, lubricate this spline. Okay, here's the push drive plate. It's called a push drive because behind it there's rubber so that it helps to take up some of the shock from the wheel whenever it gets torque applied to it. And obviously this is the spline area that interfaces with the final drive. I just wanted you to know that this particular plate right here is removable, okay? If you have one of these fail, it's just a simple matter of prying out. Right here there's you see that big clip? Pry that clip out, pull this plate out, you can replace it, get back on the road. But these do fail, and they fail because they've not been greased when wheel changes have been done. Alright everyone, that pretty much sums it up as far as quick final drive tech tips. A couple of places that most people don't know that they need to do a little bit of maintenance on. As always, come and see me at Should Have Been Engineering. Check out my website. And if you own a Concours, C10 or C14 in material, make sure you join COG.